Hi love, it is Wendom here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you're going to be learning how to make a basic bodice pattern. You guys know that I've been MIA, but then I thought to myself, I need to teach you guys how I draft out my own basic bodice pattern. It is very important so that you can resonate with everything I'm going to be teaching you in this channel. So if this is what you are interested in learning, please stay tuned and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're going to be needing for this tutorial your pattern master, a pencil, a marker for outlining your lines, and then your measuring tape. Okay, don't also forget you're going to be needing your pattern paper. Is either you are making use of white or a brown pattern paper, as you can see on top of my table. Now, to start with this pattern, I'm going to be marking out my starting line. So I love to go down from the top of my paper by half an inch, and I'm going to draw a horizontal line across. That horizontal line is going to be my shoulder line. Now this is where I'm going to start all my measurement from. So placing my tape on the shoulder line, I'm going to go down and mark out my bust point, which is 10 inches. And then under bust is not needed here because we are not making a bust here, okay? So next, you're going to go down to the waist line. So my waist is 16 inches. I would mark, and then from the shoulder to the hip line, I'm going to be making use of 25 inches. Now, this is the length of my top. Once I am done with all of this, I'm going to draw my lines across. Okay. Now endeavor to label your lines, because if you don't do this, you might get yourself confused when you are placing all your measurements, especially if you are a beginner. Now after you label all your lines, next thing you're going to do is to go back to the shoulder line. Now on this shoulder line, you're going to have to divide your shoulder measurement by 2. Whatever it is you have, go ahead and mark it, and then from that same shoulder, you're going to come down by 1 inch. This is because our shoulder spine is not straight, and that is going to be our shoulder slope. Now, on the bust point line, go ahead and go up by 1.5 inches, and that is going to be our chest line, okay? And you're going to have to draw it across like this, and then connect this chest line into the shoulder slope, okay? Now, for this chest line, you can as well divide your bust circumference by 6 and then add 1.5 inches, okay? Now once you are done with all of these, go ahead and connect your shoulder slope into the neck width, okay? But then I haven't marked out my neck width. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark it out. So I'm going to be making use of standard of 3 by 3 inches. What do I mean by this? 3 inches for depth and then 3 inches for the width. And after I do that, for me to connect my neckline properly well, that is if you are a beginner, okay, because this is actually for beginners. So you're going to have to draw a box, and from the angle 90-degree of that box, you're going to go ahead and go up by 1.5 inches, and you're going to connect your neck. Okay, so you can see what I have right there. Now next thing you're going to do is to go back to your armhole depth. Okay, so this line between the slope and the chest line is called the armhole depth. Divide whatever it is you have right there by 2, mark it out, and go in by half an inch. Okay, now after you do that, leave it that way and go back to your chest line. Now this chest line, you're going to have to divide your bust circumference by 4. Whatever you have, input that plus half an inch for armhole ease. Now whatever you have on that chest line, go ahead and input it on the bust point. Okay, going down to the waistline and the hip line, divide your waist circumference and the hip circumference by 4 and go ahead and mark it out. Okay, so for my hip here, I made use of 44 inches divided by 4, and I had 11 inches. Okay, so repeat the same thing with your own measurement, and you go ahead and connect whatever it is that you have, just like you can see me doing like this. And after you are done with all of this, we are going to have to connect our front armhole. You can see how I made use of my pattern master to do that. Next thing you're going to do is to place your tape on the folded part of your paper, that is the edge of your paper, and you're going to have to come in by 4 inches, 5 inches, depending on your nipple to nipple measurement. So what do I mean by this? You're going to have to divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 4. Go ahead and mark it on the bust point, waistline, and the hip line, and then from the bust point line you're going to go down by 1 inch. Okay, and then from the hip line you're going to come up by 2 inches. Okay, this is where our dart for the front is meant to stay. Okay, now once you are done with that, going to the waistline, we are going to have to tighten our waists by removing this dart. Okay, so we are going to make use of 1 inch on the side front and 1 inch on the center front. Okay, what do I mean by this? I'm removing that of 2 inches, but I shared it equally on both sides. That doesn't mean you cannot make use of 3/4 of an inch. In that case, on both sides, in that case, you are removing 1.5 inches. All depends on your client's body measurement. Okay, so after I did that, I went ahead to connect my dart legs, right? And then on the waistline again, go ahead and replace your dart. Okay, you can see I've replaced that 2 inches dart, and I went ahead from the chest line to connect into the waist and then down to the hip line. Now I want the side of this top not to be too straight. Okay, I want it very stylish at the sides. If you want it straight, go ahead and leave yours like that. So that's why you saw that it came up by 2 inches and then connected into the nipple to nipple line. Okay, I just hope you understood everything I just explained. So I'm going to connect. You can see how the down part looks, and from here we are done, and now it is time for us to cut out our pattern. So I'm going to cut, and next we are going to jump into the back. Okay, so this is the front. We are going to bring in another fresh pattern paper, and then we start drafting out the back. So this is my pattern paper. First of all, you're going to have to come in by 2 inches all the way from the top to the down, mark it out, and then label that your zipper allowance, and then go ahead again from the top of your paper, come down by 1/2 inch, draw your horizontal line, and then label that your shoulder line. Okay, now that you are done with that, go ahead and bring in your front pattern and then place it on the line after the zipper allowance, and then you're going to have to outline all your important lines, which is the bust point, the waistline, and then the length, which is the hip line. Now moving ahead, we are going to have to mark out our shoulder depth, our neck depth for the back, and I'm going to be making use of standard of 1 inch. You guys, this neck standard is usually not what you are supposed to use, because this is a standard, because we are making it into a pattern. That's why I'm making use of this. If you are cutting for a client, ensure you ask her what neck she wants. Okay, now that we are done with this, we are going to draw our armhole depth so that we could be able to mark out our back armhole. Okay, so after you mark it out, divide it by 2 again to locate the middle, and then we forge ahead to cut out our back pattern. You guys, drafting of basic bodice pattern is actually very simple. So you can see I'm trying to cut out my shapes, and once I am done, I'm going to remove the front pattern, you guys. Okay, and then we work on the back darts. Okay, now to work on the back darts, what I'm going to do is to go ahead and mark my chest line, then mark out my bust points, the waistline, and of course the down part is the hip line. Now go ahead and come in by 4 inches again, which is the nipple to nipple measurements. Okay, remember, use your own nipple to nipple measurements. Now on the chest line, you're going to have to come down by 1 inch, and then from the hip line go up by 2 inches. Now guys, this is where the dart of our back usually starts and ends when it comes to basic bodice pattern. Okay, so I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing on the waist and then connect my dart legs. Now guys, I actually noticed I didn't modify the zipper area of my pattern. Okay, so the simplest way to go about that is to come in by 1 inch and then connect it into the neckline and then down to the hip line. But then I'm going to show you guys how to do that in my next tutorial on how to draft out your basic bodice pattern, because this is actually not the only technique we have. We are going to be doing so many of them in this channel. So guys, you can see we have the front pattern and we have our back pattern. Okay, so this is where we are going to be ending this tutorial. I hope you guys honestly enjoyed this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, share this particular video to get more people to see it. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.